Welcome back to the Go podcast, man. Episode 124, NFL Super Bowl right upon us, man. I guess we just had the Pro Bowl this week, and I didn't even see anything about that besides it was like 70-60 or something like that. Your Eagles in New Orleans, big game against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. We're going to talk about that. NBA breaking news also going down around the league, blockbuster and head-scratching trades all around. Heat still trying to deal Jimmy Butler at the same time. Newest report, Andrew Wiggins in a possible 3-team trade. Touch a little bit on that. But first, Kansas City Chiefs versus the Philadelphia Eagles, man, in New Orleans. Bourbon Street. It's been jumping all week. They're ready for a Super Bowl. I think it's the first one since 2002 back in New Orleans. I'm going to go ahead and say right now I am taking the Kansas City Chiefs, and you should be happy because I've picked against the Eagles this entire playoffs on the Nick Sirianni hate train. Has worked out for them. Chiefs -1 on the spread. Real tight game in terms of betting. Might as well just go ahead and take a money line at that point. But, I mean, I think it should be a good game. Saquon, he's been on an absolute tear all season, and especially the postseason. It's like he's turned up his motor even more, which you didn't think was possible after 2K rushing. Every opponent they face, he's gone for, I think, over 100 yards and just demolished defenses. Devastating his early run against the Commanders. Got them out, hot start. And then Jalen Hurts just doing his job, taking care of the football. Something you've talked about all season is Jalen Hurts and those turnovers. He's bound to have a few. He's taking care of the football. And we know against this Chiefs team, you got to be perfect all across the board, from offense to the DBs on defense. Special teams, all three phases have to play well against the Chiefs because you know you got to be perfect to beat the Chiefs. And it's hard to play a perfect game of football, man. Especially against a really good team when you need to play so perfect and you got the refs and stuff like that. You know, the play calls, you get into that or whatever. But seen it here before with the Chiefs, man. And I think there's just too much, man. Patrick Mahomes, 3-peat, and Pat Riley gave Pat Mahomes the copyright to say 3-peat because he had it copyrighted. So while he's not doing any NBA trades, he's giving his rights away to Patrick Mahomes, which is real funny to see. But I'll take the Chiefs. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think it's going to be a 27-21 ball game, final score.
I mean, you pretty much you covered it all, and I'm right there with you. I think it will be a good game. I'm not going to say tight game. I'll get into that, but I think it should be a really good game. You're picking the Chiefs. I don't hate it. You mentioned the spread. Like, it's a 1-point spread. Obviously, it could go either way. It's the Super Bowl. These are two really good teams. I also do think the two best teams are in the Super Bowl right now. I know the Bills got a lot of love, the Ravens early on as well. But, I mean, until we see otherwise, the Chiefs are just going to be the team to beat in the AFC. And then on the NFC side, yeah, the Lions were really good. They made a lot of noise, but their defense was super banged up. I just don't think it was realistic for them to make it all the way to the Super Bowl the way they were playing, and, you know, the Commanders made sure of that. And then you look at the Commanders, it just wasn't their time. They were too young, defense not good enough. Jaden Daniels played well enough to make sure they got to the Super Bowl. Just not there fully as a team yet. We kind of touched on it last week, but I'm with you, man. I think it's kind of similar to the Super Bowl matchup we saw a couple years ago in terms of talent-wise and team-wise. The big difference for me, I would say, is this Eagles defense is a lot younger, and I know in 2022 that defense was really good, and you had a lot of older guys either, you know, playing at their peaks or at the tail end of their peaks, but this defense, it's a lot different.
You think they're also better too? I know they're younger, but
I think they are better, and especially where I think, you know, you'll see a lot of improvements is I think in the back end, you know, Slay, he was definitely better 2 years ago. He's gone a little older, so he's regressed a bit. But now Slay's your number 2. Bradbury was playing amazing that year. Bradbury even played solid in that Super Bowl, But I think from what we've seen so far from Quinyon Mitchell, he's just so much better. I think, even his ceiling is a lot higher right now. So Quinyon Mitchell has been locked down. You look in the slot back then in the Super Bowl, we had your boy Avonte Maddox.
Yes, your boy.
He was solid back then, but I think what Cooper DeJean brings to this defense now, especially, he's just a dynamic athlete out there, good in run defense and in coverage. He makes plays in the slot. So, and then the secondary, CJ's back there as well. He's still, the typical boomer bust play, but Reed Blankenship, I think he's also going to be an upgrade over Marcus Epps, who was, a solid starting level safety, but what has he done since ever he's been on the Raiders or whatever? It hasn't really been much of an impact player. Reed Blankenship back there, free safety, he's a ball hawk. He makes plays. So I think this secondary is improved. I think the linebackers are also improved. It sucks when Nakobe Dean is out, but Zach Bond, I've gone on and on this show about how good he's been. We didn't have anyone playing at that level of linebacker play 2 years ago. It was Kaiser White. I was
about to say, Kaiser White had his career year.
TJ Edwards, who was really good, ended up being solid for the Bears, but Zach Bond's definitely just elevated his game play. He's playing to, a completely different level. So he's been really good. And I also think on the defensive line, I think Jalen Carter will be an X factor. And, we have some solid players back then. Even, Fletcher Cox, but he was at the end of his career. It was kind of his farewell tour. I think 40-year-old Nnamdi Asomugha was on that roster. Or Ndamukong Suh, not Nnamdi Asomugha. Ndamukong Suh, I believe, was on that roster. Hassan Reddick was the only really player in their prime that year and was going kind of crazy. So, Hassan Reddick, we don't have the sack production that he gave us back then, but you look at guys like Nolan Smith stepping up, Josh Sweat, a lot of young guys, Jalex Hunt even getting involved, a rookie this year. So I just think there's a lot more athleticism and a lot more youth. May not have some of the veteran presence, but I just think this defense is a lot younger, a lot more. They're going to be running around a lot faster, a lot more physical than the last team. So I think that'll be the big difference here. And obviously on the offensive side of the ball, Saquon Barkley, I don't think there's a single more important player on an offense this season than Saquon Barkley. You can argue, the quarterbacks and stuff like that, but outside of quarterback, Saquon Barkley has been the best player in the league. Even you want to throw in some of the quarterbacks, he's been better. So I definitely think that'll be a new wrinkle. We had Miles Sanders, who didn't have Miles Sanders had a decent game against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, but
also another career year in that Super Bowl run because that was his best year ever.
It was, but you add Saquon Barkley to this, and I just think it's leaps and bounds better.
Oh, I 100%.
So in terms of the game, it's gonna be a good game. I think the only way the Eagles win this game is if they win by 2 scores. I just don't think that you can beat the Chiefs in a close game. But, I'm confident this Eagles team has the weapons and they have the defense to go out by 2 scores. Saquon can score a touchdown from literally anywhere on the field at any moment in the game. And then, last week we saw some of the passing game, stuff get corrected. We saw Jalen Hurts make some decent throws. And we even going back to the last Super Bowl, the last couple of years, we know what this receiving core and tight end core is capable of when Jalen Hurts is playing on time and on rhythm. So there's really no issues there and, no questions to why or no limitations to why this Eagles team shouldn't go out and be able to, get up by 2 scores. And then the defense should be good enough to hold that lead. But it's tough, man. If it's, into the fourth quarter or going into the fourth quarter and the Chiefs are still hanging around or, the Eagles are down, when the Eagles become a one-dimensional football team, it's tough. We haven't seen them be able to win games consistently that way this season. So I think they're capable of doing it. I think it's possible, but it's just going to be something we have to see. So if we're giving score predictions, I'm going to say I'm going to go, you know what, bro? I'll give a nice even score. I'm going to say the Eagles win by 10, 31-21, Philly.
31-21, okay.
Yeah.
To add 27-20, not too far off on the points.
And the Chiefs, throughout this season, I believe the only time they scored more than 30 points was this past game against the Bills the entire season.
Yeah.
They didn't do it in the regular season.
Nope.
So, this Eagles offense, they've scored, 30 points every single game. So, if you get to that 30-point mark and kind of force the Chiefs to kind of keep up with you, I think that's a good option there. But, I mean, with Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey, and, the way Andy Reid is calling plays and stuff, I mean, would anybody be surprised if they go out there and put up 30, 35 points? Like, no, we just haven't seen it consistently. So I think that's going to be one of the keys for the Eagles. You want to get out to a quick, fast start, score a bunch of points, and kind of make the Kansas City Chiefs do something they haven't been able to do all season.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, now I'm sitting here thinking about it. I'm mad I didn't look before at the Chiefs anytime touchdown odds, because every Super Bowl, it's, last year McCole Hardman, the year before that, Kadarius Toney getting into the end zone. Just they're gonna drop that one special play at second half of the game where that number 3, number 4 guy on the receiving core and gets in the end zone, touches paint. So it could be free plus 800 odds right there if you're.
You just got to figure out who it's gonna be. That's the only thing.
Like, is Sky Moore touching his?
He got. I saw something saying he got elevated to being healthy, but I mean, they notoriously just don't like Sky Moore, so I doubt he gets any touches. Might be someone like, in terms of the Eagles.
In terms of the Chiefs,
I'm trying to think from the Eagles defense, where the number one's receivers have been able to have some success on the outside. So maybe
but they're gonna drop that special play.
No, yeah. So I'm trying to think of someone or who that.
So it really wouldn't be against the number one.
It might be Juju, man. Maybe just a big Juju Smith-Schuster game. He's been kind of quiet.
He has.
I know D-Hop is
D-Hop, Hollywood.
He's a bigger name, but I think D-Hop versus Slay at this point in their respective careers is kind of a wash. So I mean, neither one of them are the players they used to be, but I mean they still provide something. You mentioned Hollywood. Hollywood could be a good one. Worthy, he's kind of already the number one, number one guy.
That's why I don't want to Worthy and D-Hop are kind of like those two guys. Then you got Hollywood, who's coming back from that injury, but he can't be that guy. Yeah. And then I really do think Juju is that. Maybe it could be that sleeper.
Listen, you go back 2 years ago,
he balled out in the Super Bowl.
Not even that. The controversial pass interference call was on Juju. So maybe Andy Reid's we're gonna prove a point. Maybe. Oh, yeah, it was pass interference. Juju would have scored regardless.
The NFL got to have a script for that.
Maybe Andy Reid tries to prove a point and gets Juju in the end zone. So, I mean, we'll see. I'm going to say this. I don't expect a big Kelsey game. The Eagles have been notoriously good against tight ends this season. Although Zach Ertz, he's been the one player that kind of gave him some trouble the second time they played. And then in the playoffs, he had a really big game as well. But the Eagles have been pretty good against tight ends, so no Jacoby Dean. Maybe that's a issue there, but Zach Bond has been so good in coverage. The linebackers, they've stepped up. So I think maybe if you want to do a Kelsey prop, maybe go receptions and not yards. I'm not sure what his line is at, but
6.5.
I mean, I could see Kelsey having 7 receptions, and maybe they hold him only to
I think his over/under was 60 something.
Yeah, maybe 43 yards or something like that. But regardless, that. This the strength of this Eagles team has been their defense, all over. So, I mean, it's kind of tough to find where the Chiefs would try to exploit, but I would probably say you would have their best chance, like you mentioned, finding someone like Juju or one of those receivers on the outside, kind of just making a play one-on-one.
Did you see that somewhere else of Juju, the Juju thing about getting in the end zone, sort of revenge, or was that off the dome right there?
No, I just thought about that, and it made sense.
You might hit on something, bro. You might be on what's the opposite of freezing cold takes, bro? It might be you, bro. Freezing hot taking. Yeah, it's so cold it's hot, bro. Liquid nitrogen. I think it could be good. If the Chiefs three-peat, man, we're sitting here. Obviously, the GOAT conversation's been brought up a lot, man. Do you think he's already surpassed Brady with the three-peat?
I think it's two different conversations. If you want to talk talent-wise, I do think Mahomes is the greatest quarterback ever. But in terms of greatness and winning and putting the product onto the field, I don't think Mahomes has surpassed him just yet. I think a three-peat will definitely help. but I think he'll need a three-peat and then maybe 1 or 2 more Super Bowls down the line.
Four
I mean,
total and a three-peat, like
that's not far-fetched at this point. The only thing I will say is, you'll be able to argue it, but Tom Brady will always have the playoff win over him and then a Super Bowl win. So that'll be the one knock. But I think if they three-peat and then eventually get 1 or 2 more Super Bowls down the line, which the way it's looking, that might be selling them short. So
yeah.
I mean, I definitely think Mahomes in the GOAT conversation is pretty much right there. It's seeming like he's gonna surpass him within the next couple seasons, but I think right now I would still say it's Brady.
Yeah, I don't hate it. A lot of people were saying, this is why you should appreciate the Patriots dynasty. They didn't get flags, anything like that. I think I saw something, someone tweeted it. They said recency bias is a hell of a drug because like the Patriots, I mean, they got their calls, the Tom Brady Tuck rule. I mean, you could go on and on with their calls. And then the scandals, the Deflategate, the sign stealing, stuff like that. It's not too far-fetched. They're in the same exact boat, which is why I hate the Chiefs and the Patriots because they're the same product, but people tend to forget what happened with the Patriots nowadays because you look at the Chiefs and you're like, oh, they're cheating. Brady did it the clean way. Well, give or take whatever you think. Just food for thought, but you got any more?
And I also think Brady, I think he still has, the greatest single game, win performance.
Yeah, I agree with that.
28-3, that's always going to be something, that Brady has on his resume. That's going to be hard for Mahomes to surpass, to try to, amount. But like I said, once you start getting up there in number, then it's kind of up for debate.
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan should be one of the worst on the end of that. I'll never forget that game. 28-3.
Listen, man, it wasn't his team. He was the offensive coordinator.
He was calling
Do you
plays.
know who the head coach was? I know exactly who it is.
It was someone's dad, wasn't it?
No, he's a head coach right now in the NFL.
Oh, man, it was like someone. It was someone old.
Yeah. Well, no, at the time he was younger, but he's older now.
Yeah, who was it?
A defensive guy.
He's a defensive guy, and he's a head coach.
Yep.
AFC, NFC?
It's his first year back being a head coach.
And he's an NFC?
Yep.
Falcons? No.
Well, he played for the Falcons, or he coached the Falcons, yeah.
NFC head coach, first year being... Oh, it was Harbaugh. No.
Nope.
Who coached the Falcons? Oh, no. Who was it?
Want me to tell you? You want more hints?
No. It's
Dan Quinn.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Dan Quinn was the head coach.
Dude.
But, yeah, Shanahan was like
he was the play caller.
Yeah, he was the offensive coordinator.
Yeah. Which...
And that was when they had, the questionable calls on offense. It's were they being too conservative? Yeah. Kind of left
third down is run.
Mm-hmm.
And Julio almost single-handedly kept them in that game with that sideline toe tap. That would have been one of the great Super Bowl catches if they...
Yeah, I mean, it still is one of the great Super Bowl catches. But, yeah in terms of winning the game.
Yeah, it's just not going to be remembered as the others. The David Tyrees, the
Julian Edelman in that same exact game.
Yeah. Plexico Burress had a nice one.
Yeah, against the Cardinals.
Santonio Holmes, trying to think what else. I mean... The flag call against the Chiefs. Throw that one in there.
Last year's Super Bowl was a little underwhelming. There was no
I wouldn't say it was
crazy offensively. Crazy catches.
Underwhelming. I mean, I think we've just been blessed with so many great. You look back at that Patriots Rams Super Bowl, man, and what was it, 10-3 or whatever?
Something like that, yeah. Belichick masterclass.
Yeah, Belichick McVay showdown and Jared Goff.
Or the Cooper Kupp catch.
Yeah, the Cooper Kupp
touchdown
the
at the end
Cooper
of the game.
Kupp drive,
that
entire last drive against the Bengals. I mean, OBJ was going off in that first half. You want to see offense. You want to see offense in the Super Bowl. You want to see highlight plays. Something to get you up out of your chair.
And I'd feel good if it's an offensive shootout. I'm gonna take the Eagles. Right? I just think they have too much. On all three levels, they're better. But if it comes down to situational football, you got to make a key play here in this moment. I mean, it's just hard to go against Mahomes and Andy Reid and that defense, what they got going on. So.
Dan Quinn, bro. Oh, my God. I should have known that, man. I hated Dan Quinn. We won't get any of those. I'm kind of thinking about that Saints-Colts, the onside kick coming out of halftime and those, what was it, Jacoby Jones shutting down the lights. I feel like he's just going to miss some of those plays.
The kick returns?
There. Yeah,
the Devin Hester first kick of the game, taking it to the crib.
Yeah. I get what the NFL is trying to do but I hate how you have to announce the onside kick now because the way you set up on a kickoff is way different, but it just takes that 2009 Super Bowl when they did that onside kick, man. It was like you had to have that was a gutsy call and it paid off. Like that's a Dan Campbell-esque play call in today's game, but I think it's gonna be a good one, man. I was pleased last time the Chiefs-Eagles played in the Super Bowl, man, and won my Super Bowl square because of that flag at the end of the game. So, I just don't want them to three-peat. I also don't want you to win because Philadelphia fans are quite literally the worst human beings on the planet. So,
thanks, man.
Not you. I mean, you're not tearing down your own city, but yeah. You got any more on your Eagles?
No, it's that weird part of the Super Bowl. It's like, that week before, it's kind of like stalemate. Nothing's really going on. We've kind of discussed the conference championships. Now it's just kind of like you're just waiting. Really.
You see that one reporter today?
Who, Jameis?
Jameis was funny, but
asking everyone where he should play. Throwing out W's.
No, he asked Pat Mahomes, which he's had a lot of help in his career getting to this point. Is like which one of his refs was his favorite ref, and has he given him any Christmas cards? Like which ref has he given a Christmas card to? And then he asked Travis Kelce. He's like, well, who do you love more, Taylor Swift or the phantom 15-yard roughing the passer calls? You're like,
no, I haven't seen those, but your boy might be onto something, man.
Yeah, it's funny seeing that at NFL Media Day, man. But I think what was it? Alshon Jeffrey was the one way back in the day. They could have just stayed in Philly.
Yeah, it could just stayed in Philly.
And they're playing in the dome, but oh man, yeah. All right, moving on. NBA news. I don't even want to touch on this one too much. I feel like it's been oversaturated. This trade happened Saturday night. The one that shocked the NBA is the Luka Doncic trade, obviously. Going from the Mavericks to the Lakers for basically AD, and they get Max Christie and a first-round pick in 2029 for Luka, Max Kleber, and Markieff Morris. But they were unhappy with his weight. The rumors of him being at 270. They gave him leave in November, being out of shape. I still don't know how you trade a top 3, top 5 player, wherever you want to put Luka, for AD, who might be in shape, but he's certainly not a healthy basketball player. So there's no guarantee he'll even be on the court for you. And then if he is, he's probably coming off an injury unconditioned as well. So it's like, just pick your poison, man. You trade a 25-year-old that would have signed a Supermax to stay with your franchise. It is what it is, man. Maybe this boosts the NBA ratings. I heard, rumbles of an insider job here, trying to get the NBA ratings up. Whatever it is, this quite literally, the Mavs not only made Jerry Jones look like a good GM in Dallas, they made Andrew Barry look like the greatest genius ever after signing Deshaun Watson. No longer the most boneheaded move in sports. I think it belongs to the Mavericks. So.
That's close. It's a toss-up, but yeah, it's definitely more of a conversation now. The biggest thing for me is that I just don't understand, like, the Mavs GM coming out and saying, like we're a championship team, we're ready to contend now, like we're trying to win championships now. It's like, well, the only reason you were there trying to win championships now is because you had Luka on your team. It's a lot different when now it's AD and Kyrie, who PJ Washington, Gafford, Lively. Like, I mean, no disrespect to those guys, but they're not on the same level as Luka. And we kind of saw what happened where, when Kyrie was the number one before in Brooklyn, what happened, didn't really play there. Tried it in Boston, didn't work out well, was pretty much a rookie before LeBron came when he was there in Cleveland. So when Kyrie has had to be a number one, hasn't really worked out well. AD, when he was a number one, he put up some big numbers down there with the Pelicans, but really didn't equate to any winning. And that was when he was younger and, relatively more healthy. Now he's older. Maybe you want to say he's a better player, but you mentioned the injury and age comes up into question. So it's going to be, I think, AD and Kyrie will be a good duo, but I definitely don't think they have enough to push him over the edge in terms of contending right now. That was pretty much all Luka. You saw what he did in the last series, against the Timberwolves, getting that ISO on Gobert, pretty much destroying McDaniels and that entire defense that just knocked off the Nuggets. What he was able to do to the Clippers in his past playoff runs and stuff like that.
Where he shot that shot from, bro.
We know where he shot the shot from, bro. We're not doing that in February. But
my bad.
Yeah, like his offensive ceiling, you can argue is, the highest in the NBA. Now, if you want to argue, Nikola Jokic, what he brings because of his size and stuff, but like Luka is right up there with him. And I just don't understand how you could think your team is a better contender now without Luka than with him. And then obviously the future down the stretch, Luka is going to be like, he's not even in his prime yet. Like he's going to get so much better. He's going to be better. He's going to be able to learn from LeBron, learn how to stay in shape, keep his body healthy, and, just learn more of the game because they are two very similar players in terms of having the size and then being able to play, point guard at, 6'8", 6'7", being able to see the whole floor. They're both really good passers. Now, obviously, Luka is nowhere near, the level of athlete LeBron is, but I think he's on the same level in terms of, mentality and how they say the game. Everyone's throwing out, they're both like super computers on the court. So basketball IQ is both super high with those guys. So I think Luka will be able to learn a lot. And obviously this is a move by the Lakers to kind of, set up their future for basketball after LeBron. And, once again, the Lakers have a superstar.
Yeah. The Jazz were also involved in that trade. It didn't even matter. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting in LA now. Yeah, Luka to it. And you're the Mavs, and somehow Rob Pelinka talked him out of Dalton Knecht. Apparently he was...
I saw that. And the other first round pick.
Yeah, you literally... I don't get it, man. If you had Dalton Knecht in that package and they took him out and you got convinced that AD in a first round was enough for Luka and don't shop him around, is just mind-boggling. And then you throw Jason Kidd up on that presser and it looked like he hated his life. Like the fact that he had to be at that presser. As a head coach, you're just like, man, there's only so much you could do at that point.
But like to give perspective and kind of show like how different Luka is, I didn't realize it until I thought about it. It was like, yo, Dalton Knecht is 1 year younger than Luka Doncic.
Yeah, it's not
Dalton
Knecht was an old player coming out of college.
Luka. This isn't Luka's some late 20s aging superstar. He's hitting his peak. He's not even in his peak.
Was he
basketball form?
A year ahead of Tyler Hero, 2 years ahead of Tyler Hero.
No, I think Hero's older. I think Luka might be a year or two older.
I think it's a year.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
A year or two older, yeah.
And he's arguably, when he's healthy on the court, second, third, at worst, the fourth best player in the NBA. So
yeah,
I don't know how you can make that move at all, basketball wise.
Nah, it's the fact that if you are going to trade him, you could have got whatever you wanted. I mean, and you settle for AD. And you mentioned they already got two solid big men. Yeah, AD did want to play the 4. He gets to play the 4 now, but cool. You lost the guard and you gained a big man, and not like Max Christie's going to do anything for you either. So,
and I think this could also be, kind of an interesting way to look at it is this might, not trying to sound like a LeBron Glazer, but it could prolong LeBron's career to where he doesn't have to play so dominant on the ball. Now he'll have Luka, who we've seen he's able to legit carry a team to the NBA Finals by being the ball dominant player, and then you add LeBron to that, he can kind of pick his spots throughout the game to kind of heat up when he needs to, turn up, get to the rack when he has to, and then all the other times he can kind of just defer to Luka and let Luka run the offense. So I think it'll definitely take a toll off of LeBron in terms of, load-wise and having to carry the Lakers because, let's be real, even when Anthony Davis was playing, LeBron was the number one option on that team. That kind of just shows you the talent difference. Now when Luka comes over and he's healthy playing with LeBron, I think Luka's going to be the number one. It's not going to be LeBron. So that kind of just shows you the difference of level to where, yeah, Anthony Davis is a great player. He's like so much better than Luka defensively and what he brings to the court. But, it's just two different level players to where LeBron is now going to kind of take a step back to Luka, and before LeBron was still the number one with AD.
Yeah, let's see if that Lakers defense could also keep up. Maybe not keep up, but be competitive enough because
they're not going to.
At least in the regular season, I know they're probably just going to get cooked. But come playoff time,
well, unless
LeBron steps up a little bit,
they're still about
a
day left. They just need to add a big man.
They got
right now. Jackson Hayes is their starting
Thursday
center. Thursday's the deadline.
2 p.m. Yeah.
There's moves out there to be made. There's some names out there that I think will definitely help, but. The way this Lakers team is built right now, I definitely don't think they're going to be able to contend. I'd argue that the Mavs team would be better than the Lakers team right now, but I don't think either one, the way they're constructed right this moment, would be able to win finals. But,
not a finals.
The Lakers go out, grab a big man. Miles Turner has been named, Nick Claxton, a Okongwu from the Hawks, like one of these younger centers. Then you can kind of start seeing, can we just get, to the conference finals and then Luka goes crazy and then it's like, can one of these big men just hold up, be good enough? Like, maybe the Nuggets get bounced in the first round. You don't have to see Jokic and, the matchups. You know how the NBA is. Everyone wants to play the matchup game. So if you get the right matchups and everything falls your way, kind of like how it did for the Mavericks last season, can you just get to the finals and then you have Luka and LeBron and in a 7-game series, I don't think there's any team in the NBA that will want to play against those two guys on the same court. So we'll see how it goes. All-Star break around the corner. You got to see how these teams line up and seeding and stuff in terms of the playoffs. It's definitely ramping up. But I think there's a legitimate way to where, the Lakers make a couple moves that they can actually win a championship this year. I don't see a way or there is a way for the Mavericks to win, but it's a lot more narrow, I think, than it is for the Lakers, just because of, the ceiling that Luka brings to any team he's on.
No doubt. The other probably would have been the blockbuster trade of the week, but being that the Luka debacle happened, De'Aaron Fox is now with San Antonio Spurs and pair him up with Wemby and, the aging veteran and Chris Paul. They're going to be able to build off that. Wemby's been playing with CP3 this year. A lot of knowledge to the game. And now De'Aaron Fox, who's probably, still in his mid-20s, I think, at this point. I think he's the same age as Bam. So they were on that Kentucky team together. I think it's a good move for the Spurs. And then, I'm not really sure. The Kings are sort of just in limbo, man. They have, a lot of promise. They had Sabonis and Fox, and they were looking good, making playoff runs and trying to
light the beam.
Yeah. Light the beam. I think they were, at one point the number one team in the West, like halfway through the season last year. And now you go to trading your star guard in De'Aaron Fox. Not exactly what you want if you're a Kings fan, and sort of took a downhill turn pretty fast. Spurs, on the other hand, man, you got Wemby, you got De'Aaron Fox, you got your 1-2 right there in the guard and big man. For years to come. I think Fox signed an extension not too long ago. So, I like it. I think the Bulls got absolutely zero return. I forget what their return was.
I think the biggest thing for the Bulls is they wanted their own pick back.
Yeah.
They got back their 2025 first round pick. So
cap.
Now they pretty much kind of control their own destiny, and they can kind of It's not like before when you don't own your first round pick. It's like you can't really tank because it doesn't benefit you. Now they can kind of control their own
and they're
destiny.
also trying to move Lonzo too, so get a return for that. Yeah,
but I think that this Fox trade, like obviously the Spurs become better and they're a better team, but I mean it's not like I'm saying they're gonna go out and win the championship finals this year, the next I would say 2 to 3 years. But to me, the biggest thing for this is just getting Wemby around better players and get him used to playing winning basketball because, you know, in 4 to 5 years when Wemby's approaching his prime and he's arguably the best player in the NBA, you don't want to just have like a bunch of like bad basketball players around him. We saw what that did to LeBron, you know, early on in his career. He had to leave and go to Miami to kind of learn how to win from, you know, D Wade, Pat Riley, all those guys, Spoelstra, the guys that have, you know, had success. They've won some games before. Now, I don't know, Wemby's with the Spurs and they're a better organization historically than the Cavaliers, but you still have to put him around winning players. And I think that's kind of the same thing they thought with bringing in CP3, older guy, but, you know, in terms of basketball-wise, he's seen everything. He's played everything. He'll get him better. And then you bring in a guy like De'Aaron Fox who within the next, you know, 2 to 3 seasons can kind of grow with Wemby and help him become a better player just by playing with more talent. So, I mean, at this point, Wemby, we all know how good he is. We've seen, you know, how amazing he can be on the main stages, even in the Olympic Games. So you just want to get as many good players around him as possible to just kind of elevate his game as much as you can. And I think this is obviously a step in the right direction.
Yeah. One thing I forgot to say about that Luka is he's gonna be real upset. Not only did he lose the Supermax ability, doesn't know if he's gonna re-sign with the Lakers, and if he does, he's already lost I think over $100 million between a max and a Supermax deal, and then he goes from 0% state income to 15% in the state of California. So he's gonna be in for over, I'd say, $150 million loss alone. So.
But he's in LA, the biggest market. I think he'll be okay. He'll be able to make that up in endorsements. And I mean, are you obviously, you know, Luka, the international superstar that he is, on arguably the biggest team in the NBA. Not even arguably, it's the biggest market in the NBA. Like I think it's a legit chance he can be like the actual face of the NBA. Like, so he'll be okay money wise.
And then the Heat, Jimmy Butler. All I got to say is Andrew Wiggins, if that's the return we get for Jimmy Butler, this is downright atrocious. Pat Riley needs to retire February 5th. Today's the 4th. He needs to retire tomorrow. They said, you know, De'Aaron Fox at one point was a name. Then you got Brandon Ingram was swirling around. Bradley Beal at some point. I don't even want Bradley Beal.
Well, why would Pat Riley retire?
Why would Pat Riley retire? He's the worst GM ever.
Well, it's not his fault Jimmy is not going to be able to, like, it's not Pat Riley's fault these teams aren't taking Jimmy. Sure, Pat Riley would have made the trade, but Jimmy is letting all these teams know he's not re-signing with them, so the teams are not going to offer, you know, good enough compensation. What I saw, the last update I saw,
he wouldn't re-sign with.
Is Jimmy said the Suns is the only team he would sign an extension for. So that basically means if you're trading for Jimmy Butler and he's not signing that extension, you're basically trading for what, half of a season?
I'm not arguing the Jimmy factor, but you had all offseason to negotiate a contract. Couldn't do it. Call out your star player. Yeah, Jimmy didn't handle it right at all, and he's hurt his own stock for sure. But just go back before Jimmy. Okay. Maybe Jimmy crashed out. Cool. Pat Riley didn't handle it well at all either. You got, you know, rumors of Kevin Durant, James Harden. They've wanted to move off Tyler Hero for, 5 years now? And now
since they drafted him?
Yeah. Dame Lillard. All these superstars linked to the Miami Heat. Unable to get not a single one of them. Every trade deadline, they say they're going to go out and get help. What do? Like sign Cody Zeller a couple years ago as their big man help? Dwayne Dedman, like this is what they were trading for and doing everything. Sure, the scouting and drafting of the rookies and finding these late round gems, phenomenal. Undrafted, whatever, cool. But I mean, even go back to D Wade, the way he did D Wade at the end of his first stint in Miami, to where you let Dwayne Wade, the face of Miami Heat franchise, and literally is the Miami Heat franchise, walk away, and then you bring him back a few years later because D Wade knew what the city was to him. I don't think it was because he loved Pat Riley. I mean, they won chips. They had great moments together, but Pat Riley, at the end of the day, was a horrible move to let go of D Wade. And you go all the way back then, and since then, it just hasn't been a good move. You didn't get D Wade back. You sign Hassan Whiteside to a mega contract at the time. It's just moves stemming for the last 10 years. I think Pat Riley is 70-something. I think he's 71.
I think he's in his 80s, actually.
He might be 80 years old. Yeah, you're right. I think he is. I think he turns 80 this year.
Yeah. Now, I'm with you. It's getting up there in age and all, but, I mean, you look at the names you mentioned and the players that were linked to the Heat, okay, Kevin Durant coming off of Brooklyn, Kevin Durant has been a good player, but I don't think he's been, a franchise changer. And now we're seeing reports that even now the Suns are trying to move off of him. James Harden, I mean, he had, one good series in Philadelphia, and then after that, we all know what James Harden is in the postseason. He crumbles once again.
Got him in shape.
So, I mean, is that in Miami, is that kind of who you want to be on that team? How things worked out. Now, Dame's been solid, but he's playing with Giannis. The Heat don't have anyone near Giannis's level to kind of bring that out of Dame and that, have someone that can protect him.
They got Giannis Wembanyama.
But they don't have anyone that can protect him the way Giannis does on defense.
Khalil Ware.
He's going to have to develop. So, all these names, Bradley Beal, I mean, come on, bro.
No, that was Bradley Beal in his prime before he went to Phoenix.
So, I mean, I get what you're saying. There were some moves out there, but, I mean, it's just hard to kind of figure out because we don't know what's being said behind closed doors. At the start of the season, did Jimmy say he was going to be committed to this team and, trying to play for them and then all of a sudden change his mind? We don't know. Did Jimmy from the start say, if you can trade me, get me out of here, I'm not going to play for this team, and he kind of kept it under wraps, and Pat Riley could have made moves and didn't, then, yeah, I can understand the blame. But, I mean, until the full story comes out and we kind of know exactly what's going on, it's kind of hard to pick sides. But I see where you're coming from. I understand what you're saying, but we just don't
for
know.
Over a decade now, man. I mean, it's frustrating. They knew they needed help. Okay, Jimmy had single-handedly, I think it was 6 of the best 10 Miami Heat playoff performances of all time. And while he carried this team on his back on the bubble run, to the 2 finals runs, to losing to the Celtics in Game 7, Jimmy was it. It wasn't Tyler Hero stepping up. It wasn't Bam stepping up. It wasn't any of these guys while they were a lot younger. There was questions. I'd say Bam needs to stop being so soft when it comes to playoff time because he just plays a lot smaller than these big men, and he gets shriveled up and fades away from a lot of contact when he goes up with the ball. Tyler Hero in big moments, he wasn't healthy. He couldn't stay healthy in the playoffs. He, would come back from the injury, wouldn't be so good, and it literally would just be Jimmy Butler. And while he is an aging superstar in the league and, he might not have that same exact step he had 4 years ago, it's sort of kind of obviously not the level D Wade was, bringing 3 championships to Miami in that long of time of career, but Jimmy has embodied the Heat culture up until this year. And I think the way it just went is sour. I mean, I think, there's rumors of him still playing on the Heat now today as well, but I honestly think it's way past saving. I think it's just time to move on and get whatever you can for Jimmy. I'd take B.I. over Wiggins, by the way, too. Andrew Wiggins is our return. That's just horrible.
Well, you should be happy he didn't make the trade.
What, the Warriors trade?
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't want Wiggins. Yeah, but I'm saying if we could have got Fox or B.I. something, man, I would have took that.
I mean, we'll see, man. We'll see. Trade deadline coming up.
Yeah.
I think at this point,
we'll have
it's definitely going to be some, minimal return just because everyone kind of knows what it is at this point. That
I say he just goes out and he wins the Heat championship. He could walk. I'll let him walk.
Maybe he does have like a come to heart with the Heat. He just wants to lock in. We'll see.
You just gotta. It's what I'm hearing locker room reports of these guys being tired of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the issue I have with this whole situation. It's just the locker room, these players going, back and forth. And this is a guy they, went out on the court with all season long, all these last few years, and grinded with these players and teammates up until this year, to the championships, to the playoffs. It's just like a sour taste, and I'm just a fan. I'm not even in the locker room. I can only imagine how they feel. So we'll see what they do with Jimmy. Sleepy Pat will probably never wake up. So retire tomorrow. We got it done. But you got any last comments, takes?
That's pretty much it, man. Just looking forward to this Eagles Super Bowl, man.
Surprised you didn't drop like a fly Eagles fly or something.
I'm gonna say that till next week when they win.
All right, go episode 124. Go pod on TikTok. Go everything streaming wise. And until next week, we'll be back with the Super Bowl recap, man. Peace.